Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes. Nice to have you with us this morning. I'll get my name up in a moment. Hello to Martin, Harrow, and Sarah, and Hannah and Graham in the chat. Hello, 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 the early birds there. First, I wasn't even rushing, says Martin. Well done for being first there, and Diz is in there as well. So if you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and wait for approximately 1 minute, and then you'll be able to join in with the chat. So I guess there's a lot to talk about today. I mean, we should be talking about the US-Iran deal, which seems to be giving Iran $300 million. Yeah, you heard that right. $300 million going to Iran, and Donald Trump has denied this, so you know it must be true. Yeah, it's how did we end up here? We've had also the news that Thames Water is moving closer to nationalisation than ever before, which, as Phil Morehouse likes to point out, wouldn't necessarily be a good thing at the moment because they are absolutely riddled in debt. Although I was looking at the numbers today, and they said that they were fined, a record fine, people, a record fine of £122.7 million. That's a record fine. It's a record. You know, Trump drained the reflecting pool in America, and then he laid down some blue, and then he put the water back in, and then it all turned green because the algae. Yeah, remember that happened like yesterday. That costs $40 million. So that's about £10 million. £10 million. Yeah, that's to drain one reflecting pool, paint job, and then fill it up with water again. £10 million. And Thames Water, which serves 16 million customers, handed a £122 million fine. What do you think is cheaper? Cleaning up all the shit they've pumped into the rivers? Sorting out their waste disposal, their sewage farms, so they don't actually pump sewage into the sea? Sorting out our drains so that we don't mix our brown water with our grey water? How much do you think that's going to cost? Substantially more than £122 million, eh? Don't you think? Yeah, that's why they just keep paying the fines. It might be a record fine, but still, yeah, whatever. There's also been some really horrible allegations made in Australia for the Married at First Sight in Australia. A completely different production company, by the way, but who knew that Wrongans would be attracted to a TV show that involved them getting with a woman they'd never met before, who's usually really hot. Bonnie Tyler has come out of a coma, which is fantastic news, but she's still seriously unwell. Japan has raised its interest rate to the highest since 1995, which doesn't bode well for things, because did you know that one of the biggest holders of US debt is Japan? Yeah, and they've been quietly selling that off, by the way, the last couple of years. Yeah, for some reason. I don't know what happened in the last couple of years that will make them want to sell that off. And the other news is that Cape Verde held their own, well, the football, their goalkeeper held their own in the Round Ball Earth Cup tournament against Spain. Against Spain, who've won the bloody thing lots of times. 3 times? They won it in 2010. I remember that. They beat the Netherlands. The Cape Verde, tiny little country. Well, I was put in jail for 6 days, but I don't hold a grudge. Well done, Cape Verde, you underdog. You lovely little yappy little underdog. You did it. Someone placed a $1 million bet. A $1 million bet that Spain would win. On awful odds, but that would have paid out $1,085,000. So they would have made a win of $85,000 for something that was an absolute sure thing to happen. Only it didn't, and they lost their $1 million. Oh God, I cry so hard for them. I hope it was their money. I hope it was their own money, Because there's a lot of people out there who like to gamble with other people's money. Something I want to point out as well. Have you noticed how Trump is happy to pay for his contractors to put to paint the bottom of the reflecting pool blue, or to put his name on the Kennedy Center, or to do some other mad shit? Construct a UFC fighting ring in the front on the front lawn of the White House in some weird idiocracy cosplay that they were doing. He pays them, doesn't he? He's happy to pay his contractors when it's other people's money. He doesn't pay tax, so he doesn't put any money towards that. Anyway, so today, though, we're going to be talking. The keeper is 40. Fantastic performance. Thank you, Martin. Yes, those of us who have passed that age, we're not entirely past it. 30 billion with a B, Lincoln dumb. Yeah, it's always very telling, isn't it? When Trump says something like he's found a new word and he goes, "Oh, no one's heard of this word before. Fake news. No one's heard of that word before. Fake news." You can always tell he's just heard it. He just found out last week that there was a B in dumb. And then he says it because says it out loud. Oh, did you know? Did not a lot of people know that? When he says not a lot of people know that, what he's really saying is that he didn't know it. So someone pointed out to him because he is thick as mince. But he's being protected like American Psycho by the powers that be. I'm going to be talking about Nigel Farage today. Sorry, we do have to get into this because he's just a fucking scumbag, and someone needs to say, you're a fucking scumbag, because everyone else has to be too polite, don't they? So fuck that shit. Can't wait till he's not with us, if you know what I mean. Can't wait till he joins the choir invisible, falls off his perch, pushes up the daisies. Can't fucking wait. He's a really, really, really bad man. And just whenever you talk to someone who's a bit Brexity, who's a bit refucky, who's a bit restory, right? Or a bit Tommy 10 namesy, right? I just ask them, right? Because they'll be the type who like, I don't like immigrants, don't like people in other countries, don't like foreigners. Just say to them, if I lived in another country, let's say I just looking at another country, if someone from, I don't know, just pick a country that they won't like. Pick Nigeria or Pakistan or something, because they don't like those countries for some reason. I don't know why. Say someone from Nigeria didn't like what you said, and then said, right, I'm gonna fund your opponents. I'm gonna fund your political opponents to the tune of millions and millions and millions of pounds. How would you feel about that? Would you feel that was a good thing for British democracy, for our country? For our future, that foreign billionaires can just fund our political opponents? Do what we say, or we'll fund your political opponents. That's corruption in plain sight, made legal in America in 2011 with the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court, where they said, there doesn't need to be a cap on political donations. Give as much as you like. And out of that, we got Trump. That's why you don't gamble, kids, unless you're willing to part with that money. Must don't. But if all against all odds decide to count these money as lost unless revealed otherwise, yes, yeah. Well, I don't gamble. I don't unless I've stacked the deck. Then I'll gamble. Yeah, sure, but no. Farage is a horrible twat. Full spot. Yes, thank you very much, Francis. You are absolutely right. He is a horrible, horrible, horrible twat. I'll say it again. Nigel Farage is a horrible twat. So, at the weekend, thanks very much for that. I haven't started up the confetti cannon. Hang on, let me load up the confetti cannon. Get it all loaded so we can slag off Farage together and then celebrate with confetti. There's a lot to slag off. This might be quite a long episode. Of me just slagging off Farage and everything he stands for. But let's get through it, right? So he wrote this article, came out over the weekend. It was called "Britain is a Two-Tier State Against White People." He claimed the British government, policing, healthcare, housing, education, employment, and the military are now structurally anti-white. He cites two recent crimes, the Henry Novak's murder in Southampton and Stephen Ogilvy's stabbing in Belfast, as launchpads for this racial grievance manifesto. Two isolated incidents that are not part of a popular trend, except, dickheads doing violent fucking things, right? Men. If there's a trend anywhere, it's men. He repeatedly moves from individual failures to sweeping racial conspiracy. One appalling police failure, in the case of Henry Novak, becomes this idea that the state devalues white life. His political solution to this is not fairness, it's a reform state purge. He wants to abolish the Equality Act. He wants to ban DEI. He wants to install political appointees in public bodies. He wants to rewrite schools around nationalism. He wants to restrict welfare for foreign nationals. He wants to actually he wants to chuck people out on the streets who are currently in council accommodation for the crime of being foreign. And where are they going to go? Private landlords. They're going to need to go somewhere where they pay someone money. So all the landlords, all the fucking landlords, all the fucking scum landlords, all the sheriff fat men in this fucking country are going to vote for this, aren't they? Oh, yeah, get some more money for that. Yeah, ooh, supply and demand. Oh, you got to get in there. Anushka, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Hi, Graham. I'm in Belfast. I'm safe. I went to the anti-racism protest on Saturday. It was very good when we stood up to him and other racists. Well done, Anushka. That is fantastic. Thanks for going there, and thanks very much for the super chat. That really is an awesome thing to do. And yeah, I don't gamble unless I've stacked the deck. It's just cold. Thank you. It's one of my many mottos, Svax. I spoke to my MP, Mary Foy, and about the Equalities Act, about this guidance that's come from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, the TERFs within, and she and 126 other MPs, including Ian Byrne, who is my MP in West Derby, Liverpool, have signed a motion that was brought forward by Nadia Whittome and Stella Creasy, saying that this guidance is unworkable. The government is probably going to ignore this at the moment, but it would really, really help if your MP, if there's someone who might sign it and say, yes, it is unworkable, because it's fucking unworkable, get in touch with them. We've got to the end of the month for them to sign up to this and say this guidance needs to be backheeled. We can't incorporate this into law because it makes no sense. Anyway, so back to fucking fascist adjacent Farage. This isn't ordinary conservatism. This isn't ordinary Tory shit. He frames politics as a struggle between a supposedly betrayed ethnic majority and a corrupt uni-party establishment. He presents white people as an endangered political class that needs a strong leader to defend them. White people, an endangered political class. How many PMs have we had who haven't been white? One. We've had one PM, and he only lasted a couple of years. He uses demographic panic. He says white Britons will become a minority before the end of the century. Okay, first of all, probably not. Secondly, so what? What does it matter? I don't care. Why is it the same people who don't care about climate change because they'll be dead? What does it matter to me? Are suddenly so upset about the idea that 50 years after their car kit, there'll be some big problem because there'll be more people who aren't white here than are white. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'll be dead. I give much more of a fuck about climate change because I don't want future generations to suffer. Would this country suffer if white people were in the minority at the end of the century, which they probably won't be, but just imagine. Will they be suffering? No. Why would they? I mean, even if white people are not over 50% of the population, first of all, so what? But secondly, they'll still be the biggest minority by a mile. Don't really get it. But also, here's the thing as well. Fertility rate in this country has gone off a fucking cliff. And I'll tell you right now why fertility's gone off a cliff in this country. Because every fucker in this country wakes up in the morning, they look at the smartphone, and the first thing they fucking see is a picture of Nigel Farage or Donald Trump. And do you want to have sex after seeing a picture of either of those ugly little cunts? No. That's it. Put you off for the week. I don't care if you're ovulating. It's not going to happen. That's why the That's why the fertility rate has got off a cliff. Simple as that. Because we're forced to every day look at these grotesque frog people, toad people, fucking disgusting, rancid, racist, fascist, fucking carpet bagging, pocket lining, sitting on their fucking thrones of gold, going, I'm with the common people, actually. Let's go hunting. Should we go to the club? Should we go to the club? It's not foreigners or Shakira law that is taking my rights away now. Yeah, exactly, Gallifrey, man. See, Dizzy Dizzle says, people have the mindset where we become the minority, Sharia law will come to Britain. So what we'll do is, see Dizzy Dizzle, come with me, we'll jump on a plane together and we'll go to Dubai. That'll get away from all the Sharia law that isn't happening here. Do you ever watch Judge Rinder on the telly? Rob Rinder, right? You know that isn't like, you know that's actually legally binding, right? Because the people who sign up to it say, even though Rob's not a judge, he's a barrister, but it doesn't matter because you can set up any kind of court you like, and as long as the people, a tribunal, arbitration, as long as the two parties in that sign away to say whatever the judge, whatever the tribunal, whatever the jury decides, they will do what comes of it. That's a legal thing to do. And that's what happens a lot with Sharia law, or Shakira law, as we like to call it. That's what happens. It's a family law thing. They sign up. There's the same as Jewish courts as well, do similar things. And if both parties sign up and say, yes, we will take the judgment of this court seriously and we will carry it out, then that's a legally binding document. It's a contract. Just like saying, I'm going to give you a load of magic beans for 50 quid and, you sign, or a cow. Magic beans for a cow. You sign a contract, you've got to hand over the magic beans for the cow. I like the Kathy Burke quote, don't like being called gammon, back to cunts it is then. I love that. Jenny Robertson, that is very funny. I love Kathy Burke. He's brilliant. All progressives must vote tactically, vote every opportunity. We need to keep these dangerous goons far away from power. Yeah. So anyway, back to Farage. He threatened us. This is a 6,000 fucking word essay that he wrote, by the way. Yeah. I'm fucking doing my research for these shows, man. Fucking hell. Anyway, he threatened another Belfast, a social breakdown, and a warning of another Belfast. He didn't necessarily mean there of right-wing thugs going around burning down people's homes in some sort of modern program. No, he was talking about someone getting killed by someone who's not white. Or attacked, actually. I don't think they died. I think they were savagely attacked and they lost an eye. But that it doesn't. I mean, it isn't interesting how no man represents all men. Isn't that funny? A man does something horrible. He never represents all men, does he? It's not like Osama bin Laden. It's like, well, he's a man, so he represents all men. Or men. But he can represent all Muslims. Just one person can represent every single one of the billion Muslims in the world. Just one person. Yep, he speaks on behalf of all of them in his actions. Same thing happens with any minority. Trans person does something horrible. Oh yeah, it must be all trans people are just waiting to do something horrible. Someone from Pakistan does something horrible. Someone from Nigeria does something horrible. Oh, it must mean everyone from that country, everyone with that ethnic background must be terrible people. You never hear that about men. You never hear about the white people. You never hear that about straight people. Look at this person who was straight, who did this horrible thing. Oh, well, that's what straight people are like. Fucking pedophiles. Look at that. Jeffrey Epstein, he was straight, wasn't he? Yeah? Didn't like boys, but, he was the world's most notorious pedophile and busy mates with Donald Trump. Then Farage goes on to propose, unless his agenda is adopted, we'll have another Belfast. That's what he said. And then he proposed a policy control over supposedly independent public bodies to enforce ideological obedience from the centre. Which is exactly what Trump did, getting rid of all those civil servants in America. People working for the federal state, getting rid of them all. The Equality Act claim is absolute nonsense. The Equality Act 2010 protects people from discrimination, or it's supposed to anyway. Not doing such a good job for trans people at the moment, but that's another topic. On protected characteristics, including race, and white people are protected by it too. Positive discrimination is unlawful in British employment law. Employers cannot simply hire a less qualified person because they are from a minority group. Affirmative action is something that does exist in America, like DEI exists in America, and the equivalent in the UK is not quite the same as what these knobheads think it is. Positive action is limited and conditional. It can be used to address disadvantage or underrepresentation, but it must be proportionate. And if you get on a plane and the pilot's a woman, or you're going for surgery and the surgeon is from a South Asian background, you're probably going to get a better, not all the time, right? But you're probably going to get a better quality of surgery, or better, level of, not crashing the fucking plane, because that person would have had to overcome the prejudices, the innate prejudices in their industries to get where they are. So it's not that they had to just be good enough, Matt Hancock style, just good enough to be Secretary of State for Health during a pandemic, just good enough. Thousands of people dead, just good enough. Thank you very much, right, Matt twat face, fucking Hancock, you twat. Han Mancock. Hat Mancock, that's his name, isn't it? Not this being a middle-aged, average white man to the rescue. They had to really fight all the prejudice. They had to fight people going, oh, you shouldn't be in this job. Oh, you should be training for this. They had to be better than the best in order to get there. That's the racial prejudice that we have in this country. That's the discriminatory prejudice that we have in this country. And the Section 159 tiebreaker only applies when candidates are genuinely as qualified as each other. That's when you can not discriminate, but give someone a job, basically, because they've got the same qualifications as someone else. But and I know, if they come from particularly put upon minorities, that they had to really fight to get where to get those qualifications. Whereas the white fellow who went to private school didn't have to fight so hard. They had to fight hard for anything. They never fought for anything in their lives. If Farage abolishes the Equality Act, he removes legal protections from disabled people, pregnant women, older workers, gay people, religious minorities, women, men, trans people, white people. I mean, imagine just being able to say to someone who's, you're too old, you can't work anymore. You used to be able to do that. Can't do it anymore. Unless they physically can't do the job, there's no grounds for dismissing someone on their age. Well, Farage wants to bring that back. He wants to bring back being able to sack someone for being a woman, being able to sack someone for wearing glasses, being able to sack someone for having lefty opinions. Gallifreyan then, thanks for reminding me, Graham. My trans agenda today is to play with virtual trains and make a cheese and ham pizza. That sounds awesome. Just to remind you all, the book by infamous German with mustache was also talked about existential struggle, moreover between races, so beware. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mein Kampf by Hitler. He talks about the German race being sullied by interbreeding with inferior races. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When someone writes a fucking Substack or a book called Mein Kampf and they say, I want to see Jews hanging from the lampposts, fucking believe them. Believe that that's what they want to do. And don't say, oh, it's all a joke. Oh, it's just a joke. They're not really gonna do that. He can't do that. He can't do. Oh, we just did that. As we keep saying about Donald Trump. All progressives must vote tactically. I've read that one. Another equivalent: ginger people will be the majority. Be afraid. People with dark and blonde hair, as ridiculous as skin color panic, but it's not a real trend. Yes, yeah. The gingers shall inherit the earth. Unfortunately, John, it's not that clear cut for some of us. Asking me to vote Labour, even tactically, is to accept genocide, so others will be spared. Which is why we've got to change Labour. If you're watching this and you are a trans ally, which I assume that everyone who watches this channel is by now, who got rid of all the TERFs, please write to your MP. Have a look at the list of MPs who signed up. In fact, what I'll do is I'll pin this and you can check while you're watching this. Let's have a look. You can check if you're MP, and it's Green MPs are in there. There's Liberal Democrat MPs. A couple of Tim Farron signed it, and then he withdrew his fucking name. The fucking weirdo. So this is a Commons motion. The draft code for services. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is an early day motion that's been put in. It's got 137 supporters. Please check if your MP is on there, and if your MP isn't on there, and it's someone who you might be able to bring round to a bit of being reasonable. They're not an entirely turfy motherfucker. Please get on to them. This was Nadia Whittam, Stella Creasy, Kate Osborne, Marie Goldman, Lorraine Beavers, and Sean Berry of the Green Party. They all sponsored it. So there were 6 sponsors, and then everyone else signed it as well. Nadia Whittam and Stella Creasy and Kate Osborne I've seen stand up in Parliament. There was a select committee last week for the Women's Inequalities committee where they just pulled apart the chair of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission and just said, this is bollocks. How does this work in real life? We're just opening ourselves up for a bunch of fucking misery for trans people, and also getting sued. I think actually, there are people out there who are born without hearts. That they might be swayed, if they're not going to be swayed by the idea that trans people, this is a complete indignity to trans people. They might be swayed by the fact that it's going to cost companies and the government so much money because everyone's going to be suing each other. Because it's basically said, if you think a woman isn't womanly enough for your liking, you can challenge her to not use the toilet. Just imagine where that ends. Absolutely fucking crazy. I wrote to my MP and she assigned EDM to 40. I noticed that despite writing to him, despite no longer being in the cabinet, the former defence minister has not signed. Us white neurodivergent disabled brain injury survivors who went to public schools, especially my generation, have had to fight because unlike the state sector, there was no SEN support right. Well, yeah, I mean, there wasn't any special educational fucking needs stuff when I was a kid. Like, ADHD wasn't even diagnosed as a real thing. Only a few kids were actually diagnosed with it, and apparently it went away when you were 16. Autism wasn't widely known about. Everyone thought that everyone who was autistic was like Rain Man. So if you're autistic, you're also magically gifted to count cards and shit. Useful for gambling, but when it comes to the understanding, the public understanding of what autism is and how it affects people, I can only talk for my sort of generation on this, but growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was none of that support. Also, we had Section 28, so you weren't allowed to talk about being gay at all. My MP is gay and replied saying he's back to trans. Where's your name, Mr. Gaslighting Fuck? Well, write to him, L, and say, where's your name, Mr. Gaslighting Fuck? Especially if he's gay. Tell him to watch fucking Tiptoe. See where this ends up. My youngest nephew will be safe then. Although mixed race with brown eyes, he has red hair. Brilliant. Svax, it's just a joke. Sorry, I don't get it. Why is it funny? I make them explain it. Also, if you just don't have a sense of humour, say, but I want to develop it. Why won't you help me? Yeah. Simon Smith says it's the 10th anniversary today of when Jo Cox was murdered by a Farage supporter screaming Britain first. Her sister Kim Leadbeater write a great article in the Guardian today. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I might get into that later. I went to a special school. It's a my spoo. I went to a special school 67 to 73. I figure our head knew Dr. Asperger. All right. Gallifrey man, I wish I had mental superpowers instead. I got train fascination and sensory overload. Bloody genetic lottery. Yeah, you might have a shit superpower though. You might have like a superpower that's like no good at all. Like you can I'm trying to think. You're invisible, but everyone can see you. Okay, so back to fucking Farage. Sorry Sorry to bring him back up again. But yeah, like I say, if he abolishes the Equality Act, it's not for down for any of us. It will affect someone that you know and love. Someone. It might be you. It might be someone in your life. Taking away the Equality Act will fuck him. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to fuck them for the sake of these big American companies that he wants to run everything, for the big oil companies, for the big defense companies. He wants to fuck everyone for the landlords, which he knows he'll get their votes if he says, "Hey, I'm going to dump a load of people out on the streets, and they'll have no choice but to live in your cockroach infested hovel." He wants to take away standards. He wants to take away health and safety. He wants to take away laws compelling landlords to get rid of black mold, to save children's lives. He wants to bring back the 70-mile-an-hour speed limit through suburban streets in Wales. He just is a fucking scumbag on every fucking level. But there's a lot to get through here, so I need to crack on. The public sector equality duty is not an anti-white conspiracy, despite what Farage said in his piece. The duty requires public bodies to have due regard to eliminating discrimination, advancing equality of opportunity, and fostering good relations. Due regard does not mean quotas. Due regard does not mean white people must be disadvantaged. Public bodies can still be challenged if they misapply equality rules. Farage treats any attempt to measure inequality as proof of racial hostility. And we've said it before, and we'll say it again. If you are used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Let's get the goal started, says Viper Scott. I couldn't agree more, my friend. Thank you very much, north of the border. Yes, love the Scots. I saw in Boston, they found out that they weren't allowed to drink on the streets because it's America, and it's a bit like Saudi Arabia. Their attitude towards drinking, their attitude towards women, their attitude towards democracy, all a bit Saudi Arabia, yeah. Their attitude towards horrific, tall, disgusting, gold-plated buildings that are tacky as fuck. Yeah, very kind of Saudi Arabia. Anyway, you're not allowed to drink on the streets in Boston, and so a bunch of Scottish supporters hired a boat so they could go out into the harbour and just go around in the boat drinking from 11 o'clock in the morning, like they're used to. Just remember the voting demographic that was persuaded that human rights was a dirty phrase. Yeah. Farage is whenever he finds some isolated incidents in this article, and he goes, "Oh, look at this one-off art. This is proof of a trend." There was a recruitment scandal in the RAF which did prove unlawful discrimination against white male applicants, but it proves that the legal framework can successfully identify and punish unlawful discrimination. Farage uses bad implementation of a policy as an argument for destroying the whole legal structure. It's a bit like saying we should get rid of the law against murder because it doesn't stop all murders. It's that childish. It's that stupid. It's that asinine. And the honest answer is better enforcement of equality law, not abolishing the fucking equality law. And we talk about Henry Novak. Again, another one-off case. Henry Novak was an 18-year-old student murdered in Southampton after being stabbed by Vikram Digwa. Now, violence between men happens all the fucking time, every day. This is an everyday occurrence. We hear about stabbing. We hear about some kind of violence, a pub fight. The guy who's part of the raise the flags thing, he killed a man in a pub by punching him. And most actual violence is committed against women. Is committed by men. Most violence is committed by men. Full stop. A woman is killed every 3 days in this country. Every 3 days, a woman is murdered by her partner. But in this one-off case, not necessarily the stabbing was one-off, but the one-off case where the police turned up and didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was dark. For some reason, they didn't have fucking torches. And they were called because of an incident of racial abuse. And when they got there, they didn't realise quite how critically injured poor Henry was on the floor, because he was actually the victim of the attack. He wasn't the perpetrator. Digwerer falsely claimed that Henry had racially attacked him, and police obviously handcuffed Henry Novak while he was dying, and repeatedly dismissed his pleas that he'd been stabbed. Digwerer was convicted of murder and given a life sentence with a 21-year minimum term. And Solicitor General Ellie Reeves has actually referred the sentence to the Court of Appeal as potentially unduly lenient. So that might actually be bumped up. I hope it is. I hope he never gets out. But Farage says that he has no doubt that anti-white bias played a pivotal role in Henry's treatment. No, there is no anti-white bias, you fucking cretin. You know, he's saying, oh, no doubt. There's no doubt. There's not evidence. The police conduct needs investigation, sure. Accountability, possibly disciplinary action. But the facts currently support a serious police failure in that particular case. They do not point to a national anti-white state doctrine. Why would it? Farage turns Henry's murder, a victim, into a prop, a political prop for racist mobilisation. And then in Belfast, Stephen Ogilvie was seriously injured in a knife attack in Belfast. A Sudanese man called Hadi Alodid was charged with attempted murder, and the attack was followed by this absolutely disgraceful anti-immigrant disorder, arson, attacks on homes, and intimidation of minority communities. And Ogilvie's family, just like Henry Novak's family, explicitly asked people not to turn their turn their tragedy into violence, or to politicize it. And Farage uses the case of in this article, warning of another Belfast doing precisely what the family asked him not to do. Just as a few weeks ago, when the Henry Novak murder happened, he posted a video talking about white hot rage and stood up in Prime Minister's questions and talked about two-tier Britain. There is a two-tier Britain, which I'll get to in the end of this, but you know what the two-tier Britain is. It's those who went to private school, like Farage, and everybody else. And I'm not fucking around here. They have all the money, they have all the power. They have the law on their side. They can sue anyone who says something they don't like. Everything, the cards are stacked against you if you didn't go to private school in this country from the get-go. Anything you want to do in life, there's going to be a fucking soggy biscuit ceiling that you are not going to get through unless you actually went to a private school and played soggy biscuit. But yeah, Farage likes to claim there's so can I get a Coots bank account? Can I, Nigel? Can I, Nigel? Is that not anti-white prejudice if I go to Coots and say I want a bank account? They say, no, Graham, you've only got £2.50 in your account. You can't have a bank account. And I'm like, but I've got £2.50 and I'm white. You're just discriminated against me because I'm white. So yeah, the two-tier policing bullshit that he's come out with in this article. Farage presents police failures as proof that minorities receive better treatment, and the Henry Novak case is better evidence of operational failure and bad judgment than anything else. And the Belfast disorder shows the other side of the two-tier rhetoric. You know, the mobs descending on minority families, and you know, they are collectively guilty because they all went out together as a group and decided to burn down people's houses. Do I think that all white people, because they were all white, do I think they're all bad? No, not necessarily. I think all Northern Ireland Unionists are bad. Well, not all of them. No, some of them are all right, I guess, I suppose. But you know, the Farage wants his audience to feel like any minority allegation is automatically privileged over white safety, which is taking one extreme case and using it to bulk out this argument that he's having with nobody. Like, nobody seriously thinks this shit. No one is out there. You know, he's tilting at windmills here, like his mate Donald Trump in America. But you mark my words, right? You know, you keep seeing these articles about how the Democrats are going to do really well in the midterms. If there isn't a terrorist atrocity soon in America, I'll be very, very surprised. They have set things up in America, a political cauldron that has not only gone so Saudi Arabia, it's painful. Now they have martyrs over there. You know, like they used to have like Muslim martyrs from Saudi Arabia, like Osama bin Laden's dickheads. They've got the same in America now. You got Charlie Kirk. He's a martyr. He's a martyr over there now. You know, he's this guy who gave his life fighting for America to be smaller and poorer and more divided. And then you've got like Donald Trump. He's just making violence normal again. Like that's why he had this big fight on the U.S. On the White House lawn the other day. He wanted to normalize violence. Violence is the answer. As a message that's been bashed over our heads for the last 100 years by successive Hollywood movies, in which violence is the answer. Violence is always the answer. I remember the loathsome Anne Widdecombe being asked on the BBC radio some time ago how she'll feel if she was stopped and searched by the police regularly. She said she'll thank them for doing a good job. Yeah, I'm sure she would. Can I publicly whine to get my rich beach bank account with insufficient funds? Yeah, so I say that it's a two-tier system. Plants McGee, you don't believe what I just saw. A sheep driving a car in swimwear. It was a Lamborghini. Good joke. I liked it. That was very good. Okay, so what else we got? I remember loathsome the terrorist atrocity in Australia in America, is ongoing because the orange-faced dictator is a terrorist. That's true. Whole point. That is very true. Old boy says even the thought of the toad-faced school bully Toff gives me IBS. Seems like ancient history when Henry Novak's dad asked for Henry's murder not to be made political, says Colin. Yeah. I'm sick of having to bang this drum, but note the outrage over Henry Novak and compare with Brianna Jai. I think there was a lot of outrage at the time about Brianna's murder. And all things being equal, if the turf lobby hadn't been going fucking bananas at the time, as they still are, I think that it would have been a much bigger turning point in people's attitudes towards trans people than it was. And unfortunately, because the trans lobby is so strong, do as I say or I fund your opponents, says the oil companies, says the tech billionaires. Do as I say or I fund your opponents. And they got us over a barrel. They've got us over a barrel. The newspapers do as I say, or print what I want you to print. What I want you to print. So I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to fire you all, make you all redundant, because they're all owned by people who live in other countries, billionaires who live in other countries, run our media, they run our social media. Do as I say, or I'll fund your opponents. But yeah, I wish that. I wish a lot of things, but the fact that they went out of their fucking way, the oil companies and the tech bros, they went out of their way to discriminate so horrifically against one already put upon group in society, a minority of a minority, when we talk about trans people. And yeah, they realised after gay marriage was made legal in the US and the UK, they needed a new target. And don't forget, like, stuff happens in America, and then it often repeats in the UK. It ripples down the line. But yeah, talk about the housing claim. Farage also claimed social housing. He was talking about social housing has been redistributed again away from white British communities. And Migration Observatory found that the foreign-born people made up 15% of social housing residents in 2021. The foreign-born share of the UK population in 2021 was 16%. So proportionately, it's a bit less. Social housing allocations are based on eligibility, need, homelessness duties, local rules, and waiting lists, not a blanket foreigners first rule. The real housing villains are underbuilding, are the landlords, the right to sell, right to buy sell-offs without any rebuilding of the afterwards, local authority cuts, private rents, land values, and decades of failed policy. Farage leaves out the fact that Britain has not built enough social housing for decades. Their right to buy was removed a large number of council homes without one-to-one replacement. Councils now spend huge sums on temporary accommodation because they lack permanent stock. Private landlords benefit from scarcity, while renters are fighting each other over the leftovers, and Farage directs anger away from the asset owners and towards migrants. No, it's not the landlord's fault. You know, they're doing the best they can to not help. They're doing the best they can to put you in a house that's got cold water, no central heating, sash windows that don't close, and black mold growing on the walls. They're doing the best they can. What about the Saudi students who were stabbed in the neck as well? Yeah, daylight time. And that was a crime. That was the guy who did it, the kid who did it. He went down just a couple of days after the Henry Novak murderer went down, and he was also helped by his father. And there was hardly anything in the news about it. A Saudi Arabian student who come over from Saudi Arabia to the UK and killed by in a racist attack. The fact Farage is explicitly using the term white shows how desperate he is, says Freckle Puny. Yes. Elle says, an interesting thing I saw earlier, the anti-trans push started around the same time as same-sex marriage. They picked the weakest part of the LGBT plus community to hit back. Anti-trans gays should rethink. Anti-trans gays are the worst fucking gays. They're the worst. They are the worst gays. Sorry, like they don't even go with colours. They're not even chromatically adept. They're the worst gays. They're just the worst. They're just awful. They're not even good at being gay. You know, they suck at it, and not in a good way. Adrian, worse. We're now getting the trillionaires from whom the billionaires, such as Trump, 6 to 8 billion, are mere front men. Yeah, the real villain is to use the basic necessity of accommodation as a wealth holding asset. Yeah, a basic necessity: water, food, housing, warmth. Yeah, let's make money out of it. Crickets. And Colin says, a reminder, after the Rivers of Blood speech, Dockers gathered in support of Enoch Powell. Yeah. FM Tuck says, I saw a sheep driving a classic car the other day. It was a Wolseley. A Wolseley. It was a Wolseley. Yeah, about the old lady going down the M6 and she wasn't holding the steering wheel. She was just knitting. Police came alongside, ran down the window and said, pull over. She went, no, it's a pair of mittens. I'm currently sat trying to de-radicalise an old friend from Vote and Restore and trying to snap him out of it. He's been fooled by so many online YouTube videos. Liam, if it's an old friend, right, I think that line that they use in Tiptoe is so pertinent in this. Why don't you believe me? Getting to answer that question. Why don't you believe me? You believe these strangers on the internet. You've known me for years. You know who I am. You know what I know. Like, well, you obviously don't know what I know because if you did, you wouldn't vote Restore. But you know, you know what you know what qualifications I have or experiences I have. Why don't you believe me? Why do you put the opinion of a complete stranger who might not even be from this country. It might be a Russian agent. We know Russian agents tried to kill our prime minister, for fuck's sake. Nothing's being done about it. Nothing's being done about it. Where does Farage get his money from? From a crypto billionaire who makes his money laundering money for the Russians. But yeah, the like I say, the real villain in the whole housing thing, not just private landlords, but the fact that Britain has not built enough social housing for decades. Right to Buy removed vast swathes of council homes without a one-to-one replacement. Councils now spend huge sums on temporary accommodation because they lack any kind of permanent stock. Private landlords benefit from scarcity while renters fight each other, you know? And I just hate the fact that this guy is just getting away with it and just saying, you know, there is a problem. Yes, that we do have a problem with social housing right now. And he goes, oh, it's their fault. And it's like, he's sitting there going, it's not. It's absolutely not. You're fucking lying. You lying piece of shit. Then he goes on to talk about education. White pupils have the lowest broad ethnic group entry rate into higher education. In 2024, it was 29.8%. Poor white British pupils, especially boys eligible for free school meals, have long had weak outcomes in GCSE attainment. This is more of a cultural thing. This is a failure of class, region, poverty, school funding, parental income, local opportunities in early years support. Farage uses that failure to attack racism, not to attack anti-racism, not to propose serious investment for deprived white communities. Teaching children about racism does not explain why white poor children are failed by housing, wages, schools, transport, regional inequality. And there's also, in universities, contextual admissions are meant to account for disadvantage, school background, disadvantages, care experience, postcode, lottery, poverty, underrepresentation, etc., etc. It's a lot more difficult for a working class white kid or black kid to get A's in A level than it is for some preening, pompous prick who went to a private school. It's a lot harder. And so those A's are not worth the same as far as I'm concerned. The kid who's had to fucking knuckle down and fucking work his or her arse off in order to get those grades at A level in a state school, growing up on a council estate, I will take them 100 times over some hooray Henry, some braying arse hooray. Look what I mean, Daddy's got a yacht. And here's the thing, right? That kid who went to the local comp, right? He needs the qualification. The likes of Farage, they don't need qualifications. They don't need a degree. They're going to be all right in life because they're all right, Jack. They know someone who knows someone. They can scratch someone's back. They can scratch it back. They're never going to have to be filling out a CV and saying, oh, please, can I have a job? Just walk into it. Daddy will make a phone call. Beep, boop, boop, boop. Hello. Hello, Jeffrey. Hello. Can you let my little podgy little twat into your job, please? Yes. Okay, cool. Fucking assholes. I have right-wing family members. Nothing I say works. They're just broken people, says Alvone. Why don't you believe me? God, that really stings. That really stings. Why don't you believe me? Why do you believe strangers on the internet? Why do you believe Nigel Farage who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire? You know, this is a guy who let the pilot who saved his life fucking die rather than help him out financially or pay for his mental health support that he clearly needed. The Frogage complains about anti-white inequality in free school meals, yet his reform limited councils are cancelling all free school meals. He said during lockdown he got into watching politics, seems to have found himself down the wrong rabbit holes. Wosley was my favourite car mark as a teenager in the 1980s, though it was already a dead brand by then. I loved the illuminated grille badge and still have one lit up on my workbench now. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Trillionaire Musk is now back in Restore, and trying to push the Overton window of political possibilities ever further rightward, reflecting Musk's South African pro-apartheid roots. Yeah, we need to be able to tell him to fuck off. Like there should be no foreign money coming into our country for political ends. This should just not fucking happen. Okay. Just send a quick message. I recommended Phil's channel to him also. I said at least balance out what you're watching and try and form your opinion. Yeah. Farage hasn't got the guts to get cut to the crux of the matter. He should be saying refuck voting parents. You're as thick as mince. It's no wonder your kids are too. Yeah, I don't think that's going to win him anything. Anyway, so yeah. And then we've got what else have we got here? Fucking the mental health, the NHS, universities, do you like universities, wouldn't I? White working class underrepresentation at elite universities is real, and that problem is not solved by abolishing equality protections for everybody else. Serious policy would target class disadvantage directly early. Class disadvantage directly, like early years support, school funding, tutoring, maintenance grants, transport and admissions, transparency. And then we've got the NHS, which is, the Farage claiming that NHS inequality schemes put minorities and migrants ahead of white patients. What the fuck? No, it fucking doesn't. He tried to make out that because there's going to be screening for black men for, is it prostate cancer? There's a particular type of cancer that affects black men, more than it does any other ethnic group or cohort in society, and so of a particular age. And so he decided to point at that and say, "Oh yeah, that's why that's racism." That is. The core 20+5 focuses on deprived populations and groups with poor access to care. The NHS waiting list is driven by staff shortages, bed shortages, underinvestment, underfunding, social care failure, and increasing demand. There's no credible evidence that white patients are broadly pushed back because migrants received targeted outreach. It's just absolute fucking bollocks. The NHS depends heavily on migrant doctors, nurses, cleaners, porters, care workers. If they all went home, we'd be fucked. We'd be absolutely fucked. And then, and apparently he goes on to say that black people are detained under the Mental Health Act at far higher rates than white people, and that disparity raises legitimate questions about diagnosis and policing and poverty and trauma, access to early care, institutional trust. And Farage treats any attempt to investigate that disparity as an ideological danger. And this is like, one catastrophic case cannot prove that concern about racial disparity is an anti-white policy. It's again, to go back to what I keep saying, if you're used to privilege, if you've become accustomed to privilege, then equality feels like oppression. And then there's the military. He's talking about diversity spending in the armed forces. He talked about the armed forces. They've got problems in the armed forces because of underinvestment again. But he talks about I can talk about recruitment, retention, housing, pay procurement, equipment, overstretch, and like the diversity is the least of the problems in the military right now in the armed services. The diversity, equality, and inclusion did not underfund the fucking army. Diversity advisors did not cause Britain's defence procurement failures. Farage chooses a culture war target, and because it's easier than explaining, something complex like defense policy. And let's just take a step back at the moment now. This is the world that Farage wants to create, right? He wants to take away any kind of monitoring of racial discrimination. He wants to stop any kind of anyone being told off or facing any kind of consequences from being racist, from profiling people who are from different ethnic backgrounds, or from to say to someone, you can't have a job, you can't go out with my daughter, you can't do this, you can't do that because of your color of your skin. That's the world he wants to create. And by doing that, we're going to somehow have more money. We're going to have a better military. We're going to have better schooling, better NHS. How does this fucking work? How does this fucking work? Go to the policing. The McPherson report came out in the wake of the murder and the subsequent fuck up by the Metropolitan Police. The murder of Stephen Lawrence. And its reforms were designed to stop police dismissing racism before investigation. And Farage presents that history as the origin of ideological policing. No, it's more effective policing. Like, the police in this country do overall a pretty good job, and I know that our experiences of the police in this country will vary. I understand that, and yes, there are some really fucking pieces of shit in the especially in the police forces around the country who shouldn't be in that role. But okay, that said, it's a little caveat to what I'm going to say next. British police don't have guns. They generally have to diffuse situations that they go into when they turn up just by talking a lot of the time. Tense situations in which someone could have a weapon, someone could have a knife, and they have to go in and diffuse that situation. Now, do you think that part of policing is going to be made any easier with what Farage is proposing? No. Do you know why Farage is proposing this bullshit, right? Because he wants the police not to use, methods of de-escalation in order to get what he wants. He wants the police to have guns. And bet your bottom dollar there's some defense contractor in America that makes guns for police forces that has said, hey, Nige, sort us out, will you, lad? And he's gone, yep, I love money. I love money, 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 money. He doesn't give a fuck about this country or the people who live in it. He just cares about money. And hate crime recording based on perception is not the same as conviction or sentencing. And look, good policing needs evidence. It needs intelligence. It needs proportionality, accountability, and community. It needs to be able to work. The police officers need to be able to work in different communities around the country and adjust their bearing accordingly with who they're dealing with in order for situations to be de-escalated. Knife crime is heavily concentrated in particular areas, age groups and networks. Targeted stop and search can be justified by behavior, intelligence, location and risk, but race alone is not evidence of criminality. When we see disproportionate stop and search against black people, black kids, that can damage trust and reduce cooperation with the police. And the police need people in communities across Britain to cooperate with them, to say when something bad is happening in their community, to trust them that, something awful happens, they pick up the phone and they call the fucking police. Do you want a world where people don't want to call the police because they're scared of what the police will do to the victim if they turn up? And now Nigel Farage is taking the one case when the police fucked up and saying, oh, look, this is what the police are like all over the country. This is what all of them are like. It's funny that, isn't it? Because when something horrific happens, like the Wayne Couzens murder, this guy who was a fucking police officer got a woman to come into his car, Sarah Everard, thinking that he was a police officer, and then he fucking murdered her. Did anyone say, oh yeah, that's all police officers? That's all police officers now. That's what they're all like. Yeah, did any serious politicians say that? No. No, they didn't. They didn't. Nigel Farage certainly fucking didn't. But then these police officers fuck up in Southampton in a way, not in a similar way. I wouldn't say it's as it's not, it's nowhere near as horrific as what Wayne Couzens did. And those warning signs were missed. Those warning signs when those flags went up, and no one looked at them and said we should maybe not have this guy as a member of the police force. But what happened to Henry Novak? That wasn't intentional. You can see on the video, like the police were fucking traumatized when they realized that actually no, the kid had been fucking stabbed. They were like shit. Got the cuffs off straight away. Started administering CPR and gave him assistance there and then. Once they realized what had happened, it wasn't premeditated murder, and yet that police fuck up, and it was a fuck up with Henry Novak's killing, which was a fuck up. Hands in the air. Yeah, they fucked up. It's not the same as premeditated fucking murder, rape and murder in the case of Sarah Everard. And yet, Farage doesn't point to the murder of Sarah Everard to say all police are murderers. We need to stop all these police officers being murderers. But he can look at these police officers in Southampton and say, oh, look, this is evidence. This is all the evidence I need. Don't need anything else. That there is an anti-white prejudice in the police force. I mean, can you say that with a straight face? Anti-white prejudice in the police force? Next, you'll be telling me there's an anti-private school prejudice in fucking Oxford. Fuck off. Yeah, I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for this mountain of evidence for the, supporting the absolute opposite of what you say. Black people are 8 times more likely to be stopped and searched, according to a former head of the Black Police Association. Yeah. I am comfortable, as is middle child syndrome. That's from Greg. Adrian says mixed race people are disproportionately overrepresented in the England football team because the further apart one's parents are genetically, the better generally it is health-wise. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That's why we shouldn't interbreed. We should be, building up our DNA. Just by this description, I guess this group is reluctant to seek medical help, both as men, be strong, and as a person of colour. Campaign tries to close the gap that the NHS noticed. Yeah. Dear Hugh from New Zealand, I'm age 63 today. Oh, congratulations. What do you think about the team Silver Surfer from Australia? My honeymoon trip is Spain, Greece, Italy. Our house is a prison. And after we retire from not work, I retire from not work. God, I love that. He has 0 real policies. That's why he uses low effort replacement. Svak says, yeah. And Richie Goss says, yeah, I concur with you. Surmise the pew-pews. Yeah. Adrian White. Farage doesn't have a degree. Went straight into the City of London. His name is a French Huguenot name. He has Irish, Belgian, and German citizenship entitlement. Time to strip UK citizen plus deport. Yeah. Deport the fucker. I'll put him in jail. I would literally go after him with everything we've got. Dig up. I would spend fucking money. I would spend a lot of money digging up all the shit from his past. If we find an unpaid speeding ticket from 17 years ago, that's it. Into Wormwood scrubs for you, mate. I would totally do that. Despite hearing the horror stories, my experiences with South York's police have been pretty positive. Yeah. I personally think they assumed he was a hooligan or something. That's why they acted in this manner. But I think it's biased, but it's different, says Facts. I think they turned up in a situation and they weren't all over it. They didn't really understand what was happening or, not know what was going on until too late. And it's hindsight is always 2020. And I'm not going to say they didn't fuck up. They absolutely fucked up in this situation in the same way that the parents of Madeleine McCann absolutely fucked up in that situation. But look, do they regret it? Yes, they fucking do. You can see that they regret it. I mean, it's something that you if it was me in either of those situations, it would haunt me for the rest of my fucking days. Absolutely, it would. But this is it. Look, humans fuck up all the fucking time. I do, you do, but usually we get away with it. because it's not a life and death situation. But now and again, 1 in every million times, it fucking is. But like I say, that these police officers, yes, they should be disciplined. Yes, there should be investigation. But to look at it and go, "Oh, this is evidence of a nationwide conspiracy against white people," I'm like, what the fuck are you on? Tapping into that great replacement theory bullshit. Yeah, we're going to be taken over by people who don't look like us. But yeah, like I say, effective knife crime strategy needs youth services, needs schools, needs mental health support, offender management, community intelligence. Just going after black kids walking down the street is not going to help. In fact, it's going to make a bad situation worse. And then you've got this panic that I just mentioned about this, the great replacement theory. I'm sick of hearing about this. Farage claims white British people will become a minority before the end of the century. This is not an official ONS ethnic population projection. The ONS does not produce official long-term ethnicity projections of that kind. Demographic change is being used here as a fear device. The political message is act now before your country is taken from you. And it is pure racism, straight out of Hitler's Mein Kampf, the Great Replacement Theory. The Jews are taking over. They're taking over everything. It's all the Jews' fault that we lost World War One. It's all the Jews' fault that we're, the society is not what we want, that we were humiliated in World War One. And they're taking over, and they're diluting the blood of the Aryan, the true Aryan fathers of Germany, Greater Germany. This is exactly straight out of Hitler's fucking playbook. But then again, should this come as any surprise to anyone? Considering Nigel Farage is the kid who at school used to impersonate concentration camp fucking noises, pretend to be the gas being set off, used to brutally bully Jewish kids in his school, in his posh private school. Talking of schools, Refuck wants to require Union flags in all British schools. Fuck off. Seriously, no. Now, come here. Listen. Fuck off with your fucking flags. You start doing that, I'm going to go around at night and rip them all down. What the fuck? They also want official portraits of the king in all communal areas. I was writing the Top of the World last week, and I was talking about being in Syria, and there just being pictures of El Presidente on every lamppost. Look at him. Look at the president. Look at the don't you love the president? He's everywhere. It's bad enough that we've got to look at our monarch on our fucking banknotes and our stamps. But no, Nigel Farage thinks that's not enough. We need them put up at schools across the nation. What the fuck is this? Is he an elderly grandmother from the 1950s? Oh, we need to have a picture of the Queen on the shelf on the mantelpiece. What the fuck is wrong with him? They want St. George's Day and D-Day to be honoured in schools. Maybe a day off school, to go and celebrate St. George's Day. That Turkish guy who was born of Palestinian parents who, I don't know, fought against a fucking dragon. The more mixed race a society becomes, the better for that society. Let's stop calling it by its whitewash name. It's not replacements. It's a Nazi hate genocide conspiracy. I believe we must say it clearly to counter it. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is genocide. That's what they want. They want the removal of certain ethnicities from this country so they don't breed with the pure blood. It's pure Nazi ideology. There's a movie, White Man's Burden, starring John Travolta and Harry Belafonte, where an alternative America exists where racial dynamics have been reversed. Farage thinks it's actual reality. Union flag, yes, fuck off, and then fuck off some more. Not my king, says Mr. Tisk. Yeah. The only flags I respect are Pride, Progress flags, and the EU stars, says Gallifreyan Ren. Yeah, can't believe Farage is younger than me. Well, he doesn't look it, so don't worry about it. Yeah, make clear that you're quoting white supremacist, Graham, or YouTube will take you down. Sorry. Drew is in the chat. Hey, Drew, how you doing, mate? I agree with Svax. Anyone who hasn't got much of an unconscious racial bias that we all do can still be biased by someone's clothes, demeanour, far more than their skin colour. Yeah. And the Canadian flag. I respect that too. It's a good flag. Really good flag, the Canadian flag. 10 out of 10, no notes. That's how you flag. Anyway, so yeah, school agenda. He wants to block funding for decolonizing courses or research. So he wants to. What a cunt! What a piece of shit! What a piece of pissing, twatting, cunt, and fucking shit this man is. You know, because I didn't have mad well-off parents who could afford to send me to a posh private school. I had to work for my A levels. I had to work for my university degree in history and politics. And now Nigel Farage wants to say, no, Graham, the kids in the future can't learn real history. The 52 times Britain was a bell end. We can't have. I'll make that compulsive reading in schools. Compulsive reading in schools. But no, we're gonna whitewash history, literally. And the white race will be superior and always do the right thing and always be good and kind and generous and calm and collected and honourable, more than anything, honourable. Yeah. Have a read of Empireland and by Satham Sangara. Some really good books down here that people should read. Where's Empireland? Oh, this is it's a fucking fantastic book. This Empireland, well worth reading. And then the sequel to it is over here. Sorry, Brock. That's Empire World. That's a sequel. Really, really fascinating. And as Satham Sangara says, he's PM. He's private school mafia. He's PSM. But he talks about how he doesn't hate the empire. He doesn't hate Britain. But he wants to just talk about how it all turned out the way it did. Which I feel like needs to be done. Anyway, not to make kids hate their own country, but to avoid doing these things in the future, to actually learn from the mistakes of our past for once. Liberation Scotland is working with the UN and the African Union to decolonize Scotland. I was going to read a bit. I never thought better of it. There's a bit in this that's absolutely fucking horrific. Like, as horrific as it gets when it comes to white people doing awful things to black people. And I'm not going to read it out because it's too early in the morning. Just imagine the worst thing ever and then make it even worse. Yeah. But white people did nothing. They did no wrong. British people did no wrong. There was no Bengal famine. There was no famine in Ireland in the 1840s. There was no Great Famine. No. And that's the thing. Empireland is interesting because he says, I don't hate this country. I don't hate Britain. I don't hate the empire. These things happened, but the least we can do is acknowledge that they happened. If it, for nothing else, just to make sure it doesn't happen again. Learning about the history of this place did not make me hate this place. It made me feel like I can't take pride in Britain's achievements without also, at the same time, having a little bit of humility, a little bit of shame about Britain's crimes around the world. Does it balance out equally? No, it fucking doesn't. Not by a mile. But at least I'm aware of it. At least I know what we did in the past. And that's what Farage doesn't want. They have this group called Restore Britain or something. Restore the Restore Trust. That's what they're called. And every year they try and get onto the board of the National Trust. And we have to vote every year. If you remember the National Trust, you have to vote to keep them out. And they want to change all of the history and all of the stately homes around the country that were built off the backs of slavery, the profits from slavery. They want to change all of the text to make sure that it doesn't tell anyone that. But Farage and his lot still want it to happen again. Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. Is it the one with the Jamaican slave owner? No. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. It took place in West Africa. But yeah, the Jamaican slave owner, that is absolutely. There's a Jamaican slave owner who kept a meticulous diary. I think I've read about it in Empire Land, actually. He kept a meticulous diary of his crimes that he committed. And I'm sure someone's going to tell me his name in a moment. But yeah, there's a load of pages here that I've when you turn the corner of a page, yeah. Let's have a look. Because I did put some. I should put some notes in this so I can just jump into it. You don't want to be picking up a book and then not knowing exactly where you want to jump into, because if you do, you wind up looking a bit like that Russell Brand creep when he's trying to find the passage of the Bible. There you go. Bum bum bum. Colonial service. There you go. Dun, dun, dun. Now, public schools form part of a network of associations sustaining a gentlemanly ethos of privilege manifest in the practice of elite domestic and imperial rule. Yeah, elite schools, man. There's a thing there about what happened in India in the 1860s. Let's have a look. Culturally conservative, optimistic for change, American off the past. Okay. All right. That must be somewhere else in there then. Sadly, Wales was a part of the Kingdom of England at the time of Union, with that Scotland history. Hey, yeah, it's Union flag, but the Union of England and Scotland. Then they added the St. Patrick Cross. Yeah, there's a small posh group which benefited from the crimes throughout history, and that's why Frogface doesn't want the public to learn about those crimes. So we had a chance to benefit this time. And yeah, I'll be writing today. I'm ready to escape in the world where the likes of Frog don't exist. Well, except one guy being brainwashed by the personification of insanity. Yeah, sorry we didn't get a chance to do some writing yesterday. It was my eldest stepdaughter. It was our last GCSE exam yesterday, so we ended up doing some stuff for that. So yeah, sorry. But yeah, I'll try and do some today. I'll do some maybe at 1 o'clock today. I'll do some writing, I hope. The Sultan of Turkey embarrassed Queen Victoria by giving £10,000 to her 1,500 to help with the Irish potato famine. He also sent a ship which unloaded famine relief illegally. Wow, didn't know that. That's really interesting. The empire is happening again with the likes of Musk, Bezos, Ellis, and Thiel. We're going to be on the receiving end of it. Yeah, I absolutely agree. They need to be stopped. The next world war will not be fought against countries. It won't be fought against, in the traditional sense. It'll be the oligarchs against everyone else. And the oligarchs will have money to pay for their mercenaries to fight. There was no potato famine. The English just stole their food. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That must be a real crapshoot. National Trust having to repeatedly keep nutters and historical revisionists out of Nazis out of their board. Yeah. Yeah, well, they keep trying to get in. They keep trying to get in to rewrite history. But yeah, Reform wants to block funding for any kind of what they call, critical race theory, which doesn't exist in this country. It's something that you might study if you're studying a particular section of history in university in America, but it's not something that exists in this country. But they make up these monsters. They invent monsters. That's what the right wing always do. That's what they've always done. They go, look at this monster. I will slay this monster, and then for your life will forever be better that I have slain this monster. But none of this bullshit that he comes out with is going to improve literacy, numeracy, SEND support, teacher retention, or school buildings that are all falling down because they're made of fucking shitty fucking bubbly concrete. The actual two-tier Britain in this country is private school pupils, massively overrepresented in the elite universities and top professions. In fact, maybe I should change the name private school mafia to two-tier Britain, the real two-tier Britain, because Nigel Farage's name's on that fucking list. So is Rupert Lowe's. So is Elon Musk's. Anyone who talks about top two-tier Britain, their name is on that fucking list. And you're like, yeah, there is a two-tier Britain. It's private schools and everyone else. Then you've also got the homeowners who've accumulated huge wealth through house price inflation while renters were priced out. Wealthy patients can buy faster treatments while NHS patients wait. Corporate tax avoidance is treated more softly than benefit fraud, even though it costs the taxpayer more. Political donuts get access that ordinary voters never receive. We have hardly any fucking stops on some foreign billionaire saying to a British politician, British Prime Minister, do what I say or I'll fund the opposition, your opponent. And there's no law against that at the moment. There's nothing to stop people doing that. The corruption at the heart of our government, our system, is basically that foreigners with loads of money can interfere in our democracy. And it's not just foreigners with loads of money. You've got to look at something like the Tory leadership contest in 2022. That was open to foreign friends of the Conservative Party. You could live in another country and still vote on who would be our next Prime Minister. And all the people who hate this country and don't live here because they hate it voted for Liz Truss because they were like, fuck it, let's fuck the country some more. Because don't forget, when things go bad for the rest of us, it goes really well for the rich. Really, really fucking well. Musk should do a collab with Stockton Rush now, says Kev. Thank you very much for the super chat. As I've said repeatedly for years, even before the 2016 election referendum, so many English people love having these monsters to fight, no matter what it is, because English culture has become obsessed with fear. Yeah, absolutely it has. The cyberpunk universe has the corporate wars. I reckon that'll be the next world war unless the US get there first. It won't be the corporations killing each other. It would be the corporations killing us. Fucking Palantir. Fucking, what's it called? SpaceX and Grok. That's what it's called. Grok. What a disgusting name. So yeah, the class con that has gone on here, you know, Farage presenting himself as a champion of ordinary white people. He is a privately educated former city commodities trader. He spent decades turning media attention into political capital and financial capital. He offers racial blame instead of material redistribution. His politics leaves poor white people poor, but angry at the wrong target, while he gets richer and richer and richer. He is not a poor man. He is not a salty son of the soil in any way, shape, or form. Farage has found real pain that does exist in this country, and he's pointed it at the wrong people. He does not want to fix what is a two-tier Britain because it's private schools versus everyone else. He wants to racialize it. The Equality Act protects white people as well as other ethnicities, which kind of ruins his whole fucking shtick. And the European Commission on Human Rights protects the rights of everyone in this country. It's not just set up to protect the rights of minorities or asylum seekers who have failed in their claim. Everybody. And if you like the fact that you can't be arrested by the police for being a woman or being working class or having a tattoo, you can't be sacked from your job for going into menopause, for having to have a day off because someone you know and love has died, because you want Christmas Day with your family. It's the world he wants to create. Well, the companies, the rich people like himself have all the fucking power, and the rest of us have nothing. Henry Novak deserves justice, not to be used as a prop in this disgusting toad-faced cunt's race war that he's trying to kick off. If Farage really cared about white working class kids, He'll probably talk about poverty more than he talks about fucking flags. He's a fucking nightmare, and we've got to stop him. We have got to stop this man. He is the biggest threat to British democracy since Hitler. I do not say that lightly. Enoch Powell was part of a machine. He was part of a Tory machine, and he had to do whatever the party fucking did. Nigel Farage has access to unlimited funds. Unlimited funds to pay for his political party. No one's going to put a cap on it. Labour fucking aren't. Maybe we should tell Labour that that's something they should do. Maybe that might be an idea, Labour. You know, before the whole fucking House of Cards falls down for this entire fucking country. With Nigel Farage at the helm. Because if you think things are bad now, I guarantee they're going to be so much worse under him. There were people in 2016 who said, I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton because I wanted Bernie Sanders to be the nominee, and he wasn't. And instead they got Trump. But we got Trump. We all got Trump. There were people in this country who were like, no, we need to back the Labour leader, even though he was really fucking unelectable, couldn't win an election against Theresa May. No, we've got to keep him. Couldn't win a referendum. No, we've got to keep him. We've got to keep him. We've got to keep fighting. You know, he's got to give him a chance. Got to give him a chance. 4 fucking years. 4 years. Yeah, 5 years, basically, because he didn't lead till 2020, did he? Yeah, 5 fucking years. 5 fucking years. Oh, but everyone was against him. All the newspapers were horrible to him. Really? Newspapers being horrible to a left-wing leader? Tell me more about this phenomenon. That's never happened before and will never happen again. But yeah, and there were people who, in this election, the last election in America, were like, no, it's better that I'd rather have Trump in than to allow Kamala Harris to get in because our views on the Palestine situation don't equate exactly. And then Trump just said to Netanyahu, do what you fucking like, mate. Let's build a Gaza Riviera. I put out a little shitty fucking AI generated video of us, with the dancing bearded ladies, and we'll be going cheers on the beach of Trump Gaza. Neurodivergent organisations unanimously asked for neurodivergence to be added as a protected characteristic in the Equality Act review. Plus trade union activity implement this now. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Femi is 100% right about fearing for his life right now. Says Maggie Pie. Yeah. I genuinely see this. This is why I think that they should have gone after Trump when they had the chance, and now they have the chance to go after Farage. He is corrupt as fuck. He took £5 million from some fucker, from some private school fucker who lives in Thailand now. He took £5 million and ran as an MP on a platform to deregulate the crypto markets. How did that billionaire make his money? Through the crypto markets. If that's not a quid pro quo, I don't know what is. That alone, £5 million, corruption, political corruption, in the mother of all parliaments, that should put Nigel Farage in jail for at least the next 37 years. That alone. You want to talk about corruption? You want to talk about corruption in the police? You want to talk about corruption in councils around this country? You want to talk about, all of that corruption gets blown out the water by a man who's been given £5 million by a foreign-based donor living in Thailand, laundering money for the Russians who tried to kill our Prime Minister, did kill a British citizen, Dawn Sturgis, did kill 300 innocent people in an airline, MH17. Did kill thousands of people in their invasion of Georgia in 2008. Did kill thousands of people in their invasion of the Donbass and the Crimea in 2014. Did kill hundreds of thousands of people after their full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Absolute fucking scum. And we need to do something about it. We desperately need to do something about it. And we need to stop relying on, the courts to step in and due process and all this kind of shit. And this isn't just about me being impatient. We are talking about the future of our country here. Nothing is more important than this in the greater scheme of things. We need to get rid of Farage. He needs to go. We need to get the law to arrest that corrupt piece of shit, put him on trial, and prove that he is a corrupt piece of shit, which he is. We know, here's the evidence, right? We know he took £5 million from some sketchy guy in Thailand who makes his money through cryptocurrency. He then agreed to stand as the leader of a party whose manifesto, most of it was made up of promises to deregulate cryptocurrency. Okay? Quid pro quo. Simple as that. Simple as that. Labour won't do anything. They only pick fights with minorities, says Gallifreyan Ren. Yeah, don't blame you saying that. And that's not even counting their own people sent to the meat grinder. Oh, yeah. Not even just their own people's facts. What about all the Nigerians and the people from North Korea that have been sent to the fucking meat grinder? Yeah. I choose violets. Yes. Should we go over to the papers quickly? I feel like we should mention the flags, not the flags, the hats. The hats have it. Look, there's the Times there. Authorities missed up to 8 chances to save abused baby's life. And then we've got age checks on phones to access social media. Talked about that yesterday. Trump straight to be completely open by Friday. Oh, Chinny wreck on. Oh, Jimmy Hill. 300 billion they reckon they've paid for that. 300 billion the Americans are given to, I think money for this is coming from the Gulf countries. Giving it to Iran, 300 billion, nearly a third of $1 trillion as a bribe to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Then we've got the Daily Telegraph here. Oh, God, here we go. Starmer's social media ban a rush job. Plans start to unravel as tech giants warn that children will have less protection. Yeah, that's right. This is what happened when we brought in safety belts. Now more people will be injured by safety belts than not. Okay. Yeah, but having a smoking ban will just make more people smoke, because what they'll do is they'll smoke loads of cigarettes before they go out. So they'll have the same. Okay. Churchill biographer rejects starvation lies. A biographer of Winston Churchill has accused the National Portrait Gallery of a barefaced lie. Who was it? Lord Roberts of Belgravia. Just a common person there. Lord Roberts of Belgravia. Andrew Roberts, the Baron Roberts of Belgravia. Popular. The popular. What's it called? A popular historian. Apparently, I've never heard of him. But yeah, he is. He has opinions. So there you go. Born in Hammersmith, and he attended Cranley School in Surrey. He went to Cranley School, which is a private school. You'll be amazed to discover. I know that no gas shall be left unflabbered at that news. But yeah, that's for fuck's sake. Seriously. For fuck's sake. This is why we can't have nice things. So on the front cover of the Daily Telegraph, run and owned by people who went to private school. There was an article written by someone who went to private school about a guy who went to private school saying that Churchill didn't really do that thing that he actually did in the past, because we all know he did it, because, you know, it's well recorded that the Bengal famine was actually a thing that actually fucking happened. A private school. I'm shocked, appalled, astonished. I'm so surprised. I'll have to consult a thesaurus just to find out how flabbergasted I am. Yeah. So I'm gonna add this piece of shit. Andrew Roberts, his name is Andrew Roberts. So he goes under Roberts. So go above Andrew R.T. Davis, won't he? Insert row above, under Andrew Parker Bowles, Andrew Davis, and then we put in Cranley School, and then we will so I'm just laughing at some of the job titles that I've given here. Andrew Parker Bowles, who went to Ampleforth. He's down as King Charles's custard cousin. Andrew Davis. Sorry, it's not Andrew Davis. Andrew Roberts, isn't it? Andrew Roberts. Andrew R.T. Davis is the leader of the Welsh Conservatives, or at least he was. And he went to Wycliffe College. Andrew Roberts. And I'll put in inverted commas, historian. There you go. And let's see who did anyone else go to Cranley School? Have to look this up. No, he's the only one who went to Cranley School. I'll have to look up that one, because usually on the Wikipedia pages for these schools, there's like 1,000 fucking schools, and every one of them has got a list of kids who went to them who are like famous people. But there you go. So just added that to the private school mafia list. Unfortunately, it doesn't have my website's not dynamic anymore, so it doesn't automatically update after I update the spreadsheet. But there you go. So what number addition to the private school mafia was Mr. Andrew Roberts there, Baron Andrew Roberts. Let's have a look. See. He was the 1,321st. Two-tier Britain, people. Two-tier Britain. I know I keep banging on about this, but this is the reality. When you have Andrew Adonis, Andrew Castle, Andrew Garfield, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Andrew Marr, Andrew Mitchell, Andrew Murray, not Andy Murray, that's a different one, Andrew Neil, Andrew Parker Bowles, Andrew Roberts, Andrew R.T. Davis, Andrew Selus, and Andrew Sentence. Andrew Sentence? What a ridiculous name. He's an economist, apparently. And that's just the Andrews. Then you got the Andys: Andy Bird, Andy Cato, Andy Serkis, Andy Street, Andy Wigmore, Andy Wilmore. Different, not Wigmore, Wilmore. Don't get them mixed up. One's a TV producer, the other's a Brexit wanker. Andy York, Andy Zaltzman, Angela Carter, Angus Deaton. Oh no, Angus Deaton is not. His name doesn't begin with Andy. Anyway, that's all the Andys and Andrews on the private school mafia list. All of them. So far. There's 22. There's 22 Andrews. Prince Andrew should be on there. But I guess he's down as Prince Andrew? I don't know. I'll have to find him. I'll have to move him. Prince. Catherine, Prince of Wales. Sister of Catherine, Prince of Wales. Prince Andrew. Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'm going to have to change this from Prince Andrew. See, there you go. Need an update. Andrew. What's it called? What's it called now? Mountbatten Windsor, is it? No, is it Batten or Batan? Batten Windsor. Is that right? I'm just gonna double check on the spelling of that. I don't want to fuck this up. Mountbatten Windsor. Yeah, I've spelled it right. Good. He went to Gordeston, and I've put his profession is down as sweaty nonce. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So yeah, it's actually 23 names there. Former Prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. What a piece of shit. Oh, hang on. That's not good. Something went horribly wrong there. I'm gonna have to change this. I've accidentally copied and pasted over someone else's name. Oh, sorry, Prince Edward. I didn't mean to put bracket sweaty nonce after your name. Right, there you go. Right, so if I then change that sort sheet to A to Z. Oh my God, there's just so many of them. All these names. Do you want all the Richards? Richard Adewale, Richard Bacon 1, TV presenter, Richard Bacon 2, former Tory MP, Richard Beard, Richard Branson, Richard Coles, Richard Curtis, Richard Dawkins, Richard Drax, Richard Graham, Richard Hammond, Richard Hope, Richard Jacobs, Richard Moore, Richard Parks, Richard Reed, Richard Sharp, Richard Spur, Richard Stilgo, Richard Tice, Richard Vernon. Who played Slarty Bartfast on the telly version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Wow. Two-tier system. Let's talk about the two-tier. Come here. Let's talk about the two-tier system. Private school mafia. Okay, so where were we? Oh, there's a woman wore a hat. There's a woman. She went to private school and she's wearing a hat. She's wearing a hat. She's got a hat on. I should be on the front cover of the newspapers every day. Wearing a hat. I wear hats all the time. Why aren't I on the front cover? There she is. Looking radiant. Apparently. Possibly. Good teeth. Starmer's social media ban. I've read that one. The Russian diplomat linked to firebomb attack on PM's home. 23-year-old Russian diplomat has been linked to the firebombing of Keir Starmer's home. Wait, Richard Osmond is there as well, correct? No, Richard Osmond is not privately educated, and neither is he, nor Matt, his brother, who's in Suede. They both went to state school. In fact, Richard and David Attenborough both went to state school as well. It's never the people you least expect. Putney pusher millionaire arrested. Social workers miss chances to save baby. Iran to get $300 billion if it gives up nuclear fuel. I just mentioned that. That's above me here. Refuck vows to strip Serco of contracts. Refuck has threatened to strip Serco of all its government contracts in a row over the party's plan for mass deportation of illegal immigrants. And this is a really horrible story in the Daily Mail. It's about two adopted fathers who adopted a baby and then killed the baby, and it's absolutely fucking horrific. And it's about as horrific as it gets. And obviously they're going to make out like this is something that happens every day when it's absolutely fucking not. Jo Cox, 10 years on. In 2016, her murder shocked us all. 5 years later, another MP felt a victim to extremism. Today, as hate grows daily, their shattered families unite to call for decency and return to decency and civility. We need to talk in their name. Yeah. Absolutely. Jo Cox was a brilliant MP, and Mom, David Amos, was loved by his constituents. Clean sheets, England wags, blah, 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 don't care. Trump and Israel want to dominate the Middle East. Now we know they have failed. Yep. After 30 years, I still hate his cooking, says someone writing for the EI newspaper. Maybe tell him. The greatest day in Cape Verde's history. The greatest day in Cape Verde's history was the day I was released from jail, actually. But, second greatest day. Plot to burn down Starmer's home linked to Russian mastermind. PM also targeted sex worker conspiracy straight from Putin's playbook. I didn't read that correctly, did I? PM also targeted by sex worker conspiracy straight from Putin's playbook. Two men found guilty of conspiring to carry out arson attacks on property connected to the Prime Minister, with investigators exploring suspected links to Moscow. It's actually Ukrainian, this kid. Arsonist hired by Russian-speaking Telegram account L Money, which promised payment in cryptocurrency. Russian intelligence agents have previously commissioned attacks in Britain using similar methods. Conspiracy theory falsely claims that arsonists were male prostitutes seeking revenge on Starmer. What the fuck? Social media ban for under 16s will save their childhoods, vows PM. I've read all of Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels. These are the 10 best from the books. How many are there? There's about 36, isn't there? How many Discworld novels are there? Does somebody know off the top of their head? She looks good in hat. I like that hat on her, not gonna lie, says Maggie Pie. There's a lot of dicks you name there. Lots and lots of dicks. What is it about parents, papers, target audience, and being awful people? They're all lying and cheating on each other. Yes, yes, yes. And then writing about it in a newspaper. How I cheated on my wife. Woof, 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 woof. Sorry, you got Trump behind me for some reason. In Frida Kahlo's footsteps, discovering the artist's life in Mexico City. Back to Labyrinth, the classic David Bowie movie. 40 years on, don't go into the labyrinth, Sarah. Social media firms hit back as PM vows to ban under 16s. Of course they will. Russia link as to guilty of Starmer arson attack. Strait will now will open now. Iran deal all signed, says Trump. So he says. We've got our hope has been restored. This is about dignity in dying, as Labour MP says she will reintroduce assisted dying bill, which I mentioned yesterday. My ban will keep our kids safe. Social media revolution. And then we've got the Independent down here. Arson attack on Starmer linked to Russia. We've also got the Financial Times here. Arson attacks on Starmer properties were run by pro-Kremlin hacktivists. Ukrainian proxy recruited online. Handler was based in Russia. Bid to foment social disorder. In a dangerous world, is insurance too cheap? No. We can't compare ourselves to AI machines. It says by an article. Look at that. We can't compare ourselves to AI machines. Look at the name. Sarah O'Connor. Okay, Sarah. You don't want the machines doing the thinking. Yeah, I know why. Can't fool me with your little O in your name there. Yeah. Anyway, US-Iran accord sends stocks surging as hopes for rise for end to energy crisis. Global stocks surged and oil prices fell yesterday as an agreement between the Iran and the US to reopen the Strait of Hormuz raised hopes for an end to an energy crisis triggered by the conflict. And then we've got Starmer eyes policy legacy with curbs on social media, because obviously he's circling the drain. BBC news teams to bear brunt of 2,000 job losses. Jesus Christ. Sigma quit Boot Race, the Australian pharmacy group that was weighing over takeover of the chemist chain, has pulled out. Terrorism ban lawful. The Home Office won its appeal against a ruling on its ban on Palestine action. Funding circle loans bill. Fox bets on live streaming. Kyiv cathedral struck by Russian missiles, Russian drones. And Bridgepoint Prime sale. The UK buyout firm is preparing to sell a drone detection and jamming group. Hey. How does Bob Marley like his donuts? With jamming. That's my favourite joke. Anyway, Paris courts new partner. Paris has said in its talks with the UAE on a defence partnership, has said it is in talks with the UAE about a defence partnership. Okie dokie then. Library work is still fun. Weekend job share. Library work is fun. I like the library work. Reaper Man is my favourite Discworld story. Who's keeping the trans kids safe from you, Starmer? Yeah, that's a good point, Gallifreyan man. I started reading Masquerade last night. The answer to the Discworld question is not enough. Oh. And yeah, Mount Te Arohara in New Zealand. Yeah, she looks good in hats. Not just a cathedral, but a 1,000-year-old historical site. Fucking assholes. This is the Russians just, destroying everything that's been built by people who were building for eternity. We're building these things, building up societies, and then Russia came along and just decided to fuck everything for the ego of one man. There's a few people on this planet we could really do without, isn't there? Isn't there? Yes, there is, Graham. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up at 11 o'clock. So, golly gosh. If someone wants to drop another couple of super chats in, we will be able to unload the confetti cannon in all directions, be able to splurge it all over the screen. But we need 2 more donations in order to achieve that. So you got 5 minutes for that. But while we're waiting, in hopeful expectation, I'll just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll be back hopefully at 1 o'clock. Sorry, Trump's on the telly. I'll be back at around 1 o'clock today with some more Graham Hughes Rights and Wrongs. I'll be working on chapter 10, I hope, of the Top of the World, which is the sequel to The Man of the World, which is this book here. So we'll be doing that at what time? I've forgotten. Tell me again. 1 o'clock, that's it. And at 7:30 tonight, I'll be doing Geoscope with Ollie, Bowler Hatman. We'll be talking about what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump with his little hands and his shit 80th birthday, his UFC fight on the lawn that he fell asleep at. Have you seen the footage of the rednecks at this UFC fight having a fight? Have you seen it? Yeah. Can you move like Jagger? I'm so sick of his ugly face, says Diz. Yeah, so am I. All this talk of splurging will make Elle very excited. Woohoo! It's 10C in Auckland, says Greg. It's 10 degrees. Well, it's only 16 degrees here. It's not that much warmer. It's time to wear my hoodie. You know, it's the middle of June. At least in Auckland, it's the middle of winter. You've got some excuse. Sure, Russian mastermind, says Farsight. Yeah. The empathy challenge tend to vote Conservative. Yeah. Well, they've done tests, haven't they? And they've found that people who have enlarged amygdalas tend to vote for the right wing. Do you know what? Again, I'm like, I've got me chair sort of moved a little bit this way, so we don't have to see Trump's ugly face. And then I go onto the BBC website, see if there's any news I've missed in the last hour or so, and who turns up? Fucking Trump. First page. Fucking Trump. And nobody looks like it's all right. So let's have a look what else is happening. JD Vance says US-Iran deal very general with many details yet to be negotiated. This is so funny. This is like the story that Trump has just gone, yeah, we've got a deal. And then all the people working for Trump are like, don't say that. We haven't got a deal. We've got a deal. It's going to be on Friday. It's like the film exec turning up at the shoot and going, right, we're releasing this film on Friday. And they're like, we're nowhere near finished. He's like, well, I've told everyone we're going to release on Friday now. So we have to do it. Yeah. Trump is looking more and more like Hitler during his defeat phase. Look at the photos from his birthday party. Yeah. That handshake picture with him and the president of France, whose name has momentarily escaped me, but it will come back, I'm sure, at some point. Emmanuel Macron. Thank God for that. I don't want to be losing my grip on, learning all the names of all the countries and all the capitals and all the people in charge of those fucking countries. That's difficult. Churchill was slow to react to the Bengal famine, which is eminently foreseeable because the terrible harvest just contributing to the huge death toll of over 3 million. Completely avoidable. Yeah. But like, I what does it matter if kids learn about it in terms of like, what does it matter apart from learning not to do it again? That's the important thing. That's why I think it matters that people learn it. But is that going to sour their view of Churchill? A guy who's been dead for 70 years? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, who cares? What does it matter? Oh, you're sullying Churchill's legacy. No, you're not. You're just telling you, what he did. I think he looks more and more like an old sick man. He is sick. He's sick and twisted in the head. All right. What else is going on? Division in the UK is probably not worse now than in the run up to Brexit. That's Kim Leadbeater has said that. Joe Cox's sister. And I don't think she's wrong. People have spent a lot of money creating a lot of hate. Unbelievable waste and inefficiency at the MOD, claims ex-Defence Minister Al Khan's. Thames Water nationalisation moves closer as government objects to rescue deal. UK ministers lobby Trump to avert backlash against social media ban. Champions from Rare Brain Cancer urges UK to do more to help people with condition. We could do a lot with that. And that there was a story about the Labour MPs casting doubt on the EHRC guidance, whether it's workable, which it absolutely is not. Okay, so I'm gonna Mail on Sunday attacks Restore a split creates headache for UK papers. So this was interesting. This was the Mail on Sunday. This week they had a hit piece on Restore, which was really interesting because it's like, well, isn't that what you want? It's like, no, we want reframe, rejig, refuck. That's the one we want. Sullying his legacy as a drunk racist who was behind the Gallipoli massacre. Well, Gallifrey and Wren, I would definitely argue that he had a hand in the Bengal famine. And also the reaction to the general strike, 1926, wasn't it? I think somewhere around there. When it comes to Gallipoli, at the time, I don't think that he was in charge. I think he was an officer, clearly, but I don't think it was his choice. And I do believe that, and it was a long time ago, and I was very drunk, but I do believe, look at that from the BBC. Fucking test screen. I do believe that he did not want to do a beach invasion. He wanted to sit out in the water and just fire missiles or cannonballs or whatever they had in World War One at the Turkish coast. And he was either persuaded not to do that or he was told not to do that because it would be un-British or something. It wouldn't be gentlemanly. It would not be gentlemanly conduct. I might be getting this the wrong way around, and it might be the other way around. But that's what I thought in Gallipoli. I know that Bengal famine, general strike. Yeah, Churchill behaved like a twat. I'm not sure about Gallipoli. I'm not sure. We idolise exceptional individuals way too much in general our society. Churchill may be in the right man in the right place to defeat the Nazis, but that doesn't mean he was a saint. Yeah. Well, not even saints were saints, like Mother Teresa. She wasn't a saint, not by a long, not by a long chalk. She revelled in other people's misery. Sorry. The rest is history. Then they just covered Gallipoli. He's a complex person, done plenty of shit, done some good as well. Well, definitely. Pure saint. I won't also, yeah, he's not a saint. I wouldn't go as far as to call him evil. I mean, Hitler was blatantly evil, and I think that when it comes to history, the best thing to have is a full knowledge of what went down and what happened and what decisions were made, and what was the background to it all, and you can come to your own conclusions. Well, I think it's impossible to just say that one person in particular is a fucking saint. Gandhi wasn't a saint. He used to sleep with little girls when he was an old man. He used to sleep with little girls when he was an old man. And Gandhi did a lot for the Indian diaspora living in Durban in South Africa at the turn of the 20th century. Did fuck all for the black people living there. He was just as racist towards them as the whites were. Just saying, he did a lot of good. He managed to destroy the British Empire without, get the British Empire out of India without firing a shot. So, that's quite impressive. But these historical characters that we go, oh, they must be beyond reproach. They're not. John Lennon was a fucking shitbag. John Lennon, one of the greatest songwriters of the 20th century, no doubt about it. But he treated his wife fucking awfully. He treated Yoko Ono awfully by the sounds of things. But also, there's an interview where he says, "Oh, you've got to be a violent man to understand peace. I do like to give, my partners a bit of a clobber if they're talking out of line. But you've got to be a violent man, or you can't understand peace." Oh, all right, John, whatever. So yeah, I mean, one of the things that I wish that humans would stop doing is putting people they don't know on pedestals. People who they've got no connection with. Why are you putting these people on pedestals? What is the fucking point? I don't get it. What is this complex that we have that we've got to worship someone and say, oh yeah, they're beyond reproach. And then this idea that maybe you have a musician and they never make a bad song, do they? All right, okay. Never hit a bum note. Beyond reproach. Everything they do is brilliant. And you get a shit album and you're like, oh, that one's a bit shit. No. And you can laugh at people who think Taylor Swift is wonderful and that she's, her latest album, which is okay. It's the greatest album of all time. You're like, yeah, kidding me. But then I was there back in the 90s when people were like, have you heard the new Radiohead album, Kid A? And I was like, yeah, it's shite. What did you say? I said it's shite. The only thing shiter than it is Amnesiac, which is also fucking shite. But. Go on, sing me one of the songs. Sing me one of the songs off that fucking album. Ambient 4 a.m. fucking music that you put on, and because everyone's fucking falling asleep or stoned. Ambient whale pop, as in someone wailing. Oh God. I'm old enough to remember when Radiohead songs were fucking rocking. But anyway, they can do no wrong. They can do no wrong. Stop it. No one's perfect. Neither are you. If you had this idea that someone out there who's doing better than you, or smarter than you, or is better looking than you, or whatever, it's just holding you back. Like, fuck it. They're not. They're probably a shitbag. They're probably shit in bed. They're probably, they have really stinky feet or whatever the fuck it is. You don't know. You don't know them. Don't put them on a pedestal. Just don't do it. No one's perfect. And some people, everyone fucks up. And unfortunately, when it's someone in a position of power, when they fuck up, that kind of ruins things for the rest of us. The Straits of Gallipoli were mined, so first Sea Lord Churchill learnt a lesson trying to sail ships through straits. History repeats. All individuals, except me. I'm not. No one's perfect, and I'm no one, says Gallifrey. I like that. But yeah, I just feel like the knee-jerk reaction of people like Farage, to wrap themselves in the flag and say that these historical characters did no wrong. It's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Richard Lionheart, this great British fucking hero, the guy who turns up at the end of Robin Hood, played by fucking Sean Connery, on a fucking horse. Oh, I'm Sean Connery. I'm from France all of a sudden. Richard Lionheart didn't speak any fucking English. He spoke French. The only English words he knew were swear words. And he died in France. He lived in France. He went off on crusades. He was never here. Didn't give a fuck. This was the backyard that he was just left unkempt. He left someone else in charge while he was away. He didn't give a fuck about this place. Oliver Cromwell. Do you want to talk about what Oliver Cromwell did in Ireland? Jesus fucking Christ. He set back the cause of republicanism for 500 fucking years. Ataturk is another complex person. Phenomenal defense of the country, impressive reforms on one hand, appalling treatment of minorities, including other issues on the other hand. Yeah, absolutely. But in Turkey, you slag off Ataturk, you'd be put in fucking jail. You'd be put in jail for saying he was a bit of a knob, actually. The Armenian genocide. Oh, that wasn't good, was it? Oh no, there was no Armenian genocide. Of course. But yeah, the modernizing slant of Ataturk dragged Turkey into the 20th century in a way that other countries around that area, the former colonies former conquests of the Ottoman Empire, just didn't. But there you go. I mean, he managed to change the whole fucking alphabet. He got rid of because he used Arabic script up till that point, didn't they? And he brought in using Latin script instead. And he did it. He fucking did it. Which is very, very, very impressive. Only English lords, the English words he knew were swear words. So, regrout voter, yeah, yeah. People also forget the Assyrian genocide. There was an Assyrian genocide, was there as well? Was that at the same time as the Armenian genocide? Yeah, yeah, that's not great. Anyway, listen, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go. It's fine. Didn't want to set off the confetti cannon. I'm sorry, Diz. I'm sorry. I tried my best. But you know, I can only do so much. I thought I'll do a show about Nigel Farage. That'll be good for generating confetti cannon for that. But then, actually, if I just check on the fan funding, do you know what, my friends? Listen, there was a super chat from Francis Walker, and there was a super chat from Anuska, and they came in before the total started clocking up. So that means, I think, that I am well within my rights to do this. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Yay! We got it. On a bit of a technicality, but we got it. Yay! Diz, thanks everyone. Have a great day and be kind to yourself and each other. Absolutely. I agree with that, Diz. So before you go, quick, give us a like. And subscribe to the channel. And also hit the bell notification icon so you know when we're going live. I'll be back at 1 o'clock to do some writing. Don't forget, it's ASMR. Not going to be entertaining. Don't go there and go, this is boring. Okay? If you do that, I might be tempted to mute you. I won't boot you. I will mute you. Go away. What are you even here for? And then if you want to watch me and Ollie talk about what's going on in the world at 7:30 tonight, please join us for the Geoscope. Until then, it's all got to be good. So thanks very much to Diz and to Farsight and to Gallifreyan Men and to Greg and others in the chat. Simon in there as well. Jenny, Harry, thank you so much for watching. Love to you all. Hope you have a great day. And until we meet again, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.